Hello everyone, I am Caio Fabio Prates, a senior software developer with 5 years of experience, specializing in Java, Python, and AWS Cloud. Today I brought an example for you on how to use quick commands within the StackSpot platform. What is a quick command? A quick command is a snippet, a piece of prompt that we can combine with other prompts, so we can have a sort of processing chain to enhance functionality and improve efficiency in various applications. Throughout the examples here, it will be possible to better understand how each command interacts with one another. But in general, the idea of the quick command is to have the prompt already set up, with the processing already configured. So, step by step, right here, I'm on the StackSpot AI website, and in this corner over here, we can create a brand new quick command. From here, we can choose where we want to have this quick command, from a remote quick command that can be accessed via an API, to a quick command that will be integrated into our IDE, and that's going to be our case. So here we can create a name for our quick command. In this case, it will be diagram. Here, I will build a quick command that will be able to understand a class, regardless of the language we place there, and it will create a diagram with the entire decision flow that exists within this class. Why is this interesting? It's interesting because we can, from these diagrams, enrich our documentation and present it in a more interesting, clearer way for people to understand the entire flow of our projects. Here we can add a brief description. From this point, we can move forward. It will generate a quick command for us, and then we can choose between two predefined examples here. A blank example and a hello world example. I'm going to choose a hello world example here so we already have some structure. There's a system that somewhat resembles a block-based programming system, but it helps when we can pull in new blocks to be part of our processing chain. At this point, I will edit this one that came with the code already prepared, but here you can already understand that we have an entire flow that begins, a start, a processing area, and by the end, a finished step for this process. So I will call this one in the middle, process. Because it is the one that will process our information, our class, our code, and will try to create the Mermaid diagram. Well, at this point, we're using prompt engineering, right? So prompt engineering is when I tell my artificial intelligence what I expect it to do, what I want it to do. So I'm going to bring a simplified prompt here, where I'm asking it to create the mermaid diagram, asking it to handle some variables, make the line bold, right? And emphasize the decision blocks. There's another interesting point here where I need to put the select code down here. Because select code is where I will apply this prompt I just wrote, right? So it's important to keep this here or I'll save it. Well, from this moment on, I can even test my copy code, right? I have here a shortcut where I can test this one. So I will save and test. Okay, all right. Let me just take a little bit of time to complete the task here, because I haven't even configured the end of the code. So we will simply use code for this guy. It's all right, and it will execute. For the real assistance, the response of our guy, which is definitely the process, well, I think I can absolutely save here and try again. Great. In this corner here, in the right corner, I can input a code example, right? To simulate what I would be doing inside my IDE. And here I will input a Simploria class in the Java class, which has a very simple decision structure here, right? To determine if the number is positive or negative. So it's a very simple decision chain. When I execute this guy here, it provides an educational visualization of how the processing works within the quick command until the end. So at the end here, I can already see the result of the quick command. So here I see the formatting it gave me, which happens to be the mermaid diagram formatting style. As you can see, this formatting is based on Markdown. We can already test this guy using the tools and resources available to us Here is my Mermaid Live editor, which is fully prepared and ready for use, where I can test and evaluate the Mermaid code. And then if I just input this guy right here, I notice that everything went wrong. The formatting got truncated, and I had some issues while writing. This response contained characters that are not allowed within the structure of the Mermaid, and my AI sent me a completely locked up code. But what is the advantage of us understanding this process now, and how can we improve this process? It's about understanding how we can bring in new processing and link the results of one quick commit with another. So I'll go back to this one here. Let me just close this here so I can return to editing. I'll go back to this one here, and then I'll improve this code a little, this prompt that I wrote here. I'll ask it to be careful not to include characters that Mermaid doesn't understand. All right, and I'm going to do more. I'm going to create a new guy here, a new prompt, and place it in the middle of this process. And this element will be my formatter. It will format the result that comes here. If this result still has any characters that are not allowed by Mermaid, I can have them removed. So I will delete this element here. I will bring this prompt here and we will work on it. I will call this element format. And here I'll simply say to remove the parentheses, as we notice that many characters were used here that are unintelligible for Mermaid. So I am trying to remove all the characters that are not readable by Mermaid. So let's fit this element with that one. Great. And here, the selected code will be the process answer, where I'm applying processing and doing prompt engineering based on my previous result. So just process, then format, and then my final element arrives here. Let me just see how I will find it here. So my final element at the end, I will link with the format. So in the end, I am not going to receive the process answer, but instead the format answer. After having done this, we can now proceed to test our code once again. So I will go ahead and save it, and then test it once more. So I just have that example right there, right? A simpler example right now. So I will run it again here. It will bring a simulation of the processing here. The formatting of the result now. And it will bring us the final result. So this here is my final response. At the top, there's already the flowchart up there. Good, perfect. So here, just a lot of attention. Sometimes the formatting it brings to us, since it's Markdown, I also understand Markdown here, brings a somewhat confusing formatting. But the start of the diagram begins in this flowchart here. The rest are comments, right? And the diagram itself is down here. So looking here, it did in fact compute what we asked it to do, which is to remove the parentheses and some points there, some characters that an image doesn't understand. And this is our final result. We can even view this in full screen mode and understand that in fact this is what's in my class. A class that receives a number performs a session on this number in order to determine whether it is positive or if it is a negative number. All right? Well, this is perhaps a somewhat simpler example, but it's indeed worth trying here with a slightly more complex example. A class with a bit richer decision structures here to understand how our diagram behaves. So I will bring a slightly more complex class here, and let's see how the diagram behaves, what our final result is. So I will execute it here. This class kind of simulates a banking system, so it includes all the aspects of deposits and balance here. We can see that the processing is actually a bit slower, but it's still quite fast. And great, we have our diagram here, an image of that little guy. Remember, the flowchart here is the first case. I can in fact take everything down here except for the flowchart up top and keep it here. And here we see an extremely complex structure being simplified. I'll even put it in full screen mode. We have that highly complex class structure being represented here in a much easier to read way in this diagrammatic format. Well, that's it. The key takeaway here is understanding how we can chain commands together to shape and refine what we need, working effectively with the requirements at hand. I could have added another 100 prompts here until reaching the final result, improving it further. If I wanted a colored diagram, I could assign someone specifically to handle the formatting and coloring of this diagram. And that's it. The idea here is how we can work with the prompt and how we can use this powerful tool, kind of a conversation between the result of one product and the result of another, so that we reach a goal. Well, folks, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions about quick commands, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Leave your like, share this video to help others use StackSpot, our solution. See you later.